All right, everybody. Good morning. This is Kevin Crouch with South Metro Weather, of course, and looks like Pivotal Weather's having some issues. I imagine everybody in the Western Hemisphere is using the models right now, so I may have to show kind of a different version of those. Unfortunately, that really takes a huge bite out of what I was trying to do for you. So I'm hoping that loads. While that works itself out, I want to take a look at where we are right now. We're in the 40s area wide, and 40s headed for the 50s. I think later today, in the afternoon, we'll warm up to the 50s here. So yeah, I think that'll load. Okay, I'm still waiting on Pivotal Weather to get its act together, but we'll warm up to the 50s today. We have a front moving through this morning, actually. In fact, I think we just recently saw the winds change direction. Out of the north in Corsicana, but winds are still out of the southwest in Mejia. So that front is going to be right just south of our area now. Just moved through. We're going to have some breezy winds today. It'll be a little bit of a windy day across our area, and obviously this is nothing compared to where we will be in a few days here. So that is definitely something to keep in mind as well. And as we kind of zoom this out across the area, 40s and 50s, pretty uniform across the state. It is much colder up in the Panhandle. You can see where the colder air is, and we won't get this cold quite yet. Overnight tonight, we'll be in the low 30s, upper 20s across our area. I think some will get a decent freeze here. All of us will be below freezing tonight. Some more than others. I don't think we have to drip the faucets tonight, but I do think that it will be worth watching for sure as we get into the next, several days. We'll warm up before we get to this weekend winter weather event. But we do have a cold front that will be here first before we get there. So that will need to be, or we will have a chance of rain before that as well. So let's just get straight over to. Okay, I think Pivotal Weather has pulled itself together here. I think it has. I think we're good to go there. So let's get straight over to that. Yeah, looks good. I think it's stable enough now. Hopefully, that we can. There we go. Just get this adjusted here now that that's working. Okay, cool. Well, let's kind of show you where things stand. So over the past 24 hours, it has been quite the event. Watching the models go from, hey, we don't really know what's going on, to all of them coalesce around this widespread winter weather event that is going to be headed our way. And if you would have asked me this time yesterday what's going to happen, I would have been going, hey, man, it's pretty much what I said is I'm going to have to see some data on this. I'm going to have to see how this plays out a little bit. And we waited and we watched. And if you're a subscriber on Facebook or a member of our Patreon, you saw the post yesterday where I had that collage of different model solutions and said, this is what we're seeing. And the reason I sent that to exclusive supporters is that those are the people that have been with the brand for a long time, that really pay attention. And I knew that it would be digested appropriately. The thing is, when we see something on a model and we don't talk about it publicly, it's not because we're trying to hide something. It's because we know that a decent number of our audience are going to take one look at a screenshot, not read any of the context, and say, hey, this is what it is. And so that's why I wait a period of time to show something, because when these models were designed, they were not designed for broad public consumption. They were designed for people who knew how to interpret them and knew how to use them and that kind of thing. So now that we're in a time where they're everywhere, I feel like I have to be more conservative with when I share those, because not everybody knows how those are supposed to be consumed, how they're designed, what they do. Not everybody sees those and goes, okay, well, this is to be taken within a certain context, if that makes sense. So I try to be very careful with sharing those, especially when they look like they did at this time yesterday, because, it scared the pants off you. Um, but within the context of, we could easily have seen the next model run, the afternoon data, or even the evening data, just completely deviate from that and go, nope, never mind. We were all, playing a joke on you. Just kidding. Not going to happen. But what we have seen, and I was up at 1 a.m. this morning reading the area forecast discussion by the National Weather Service, where they said, this is a remarkable turn of events. It's undeniable at this point. Here's what all the models are saying, and they're just kind of in our face at this point. And they were. I remember looking at them going, this is, I literally told somebody yesterday, I said, if this consistency in the models continues, it's going to force my hand. I'm going to have no choice but to put this out there. And sure enough, overnight into this morning, they're all pretty much on board with the same conclusions. So first I want to show you, we gotta get into Wednesday first, because there are some changes there. And if not changes, maybe just the continuation of a trend that I have been seeing here. What should you in? Okay, there we go. Like I say, pivotal weather is kind of having a day here. And again, I think it's because there's a lot of people that are probably hammering that server. But as we get into Wednesday, so this is what, I don't want the GFS. I need the NAM 3K. I want to show you, now that Wednesday is within the parameters of this higher resolution data, we're getting a better idea of what rain chances are looking like on Wednesday. And hopefully we can cue that up for you. Like I say, Pivotal's having a rough day today. I've had a hard time getting it to cooperate with me. So, okay, I don't know that that's going to work, but what we can do here is go over to the next best thing, which is Radar Omega, because Radar Omega, okay, now it works on Pivotal. Well, kind of. We'll wait for Pivotal, and you know what? I think we'll go ahead and queue up. See if we can queue up the American model data while we work on this. So, the NAM model, we're getting a closer look at Wednesday. And this makes sense in the context of what we're looking at for this weekend, and I'll explain why. So let's change this over to precip type so you can differentiate here. So snow in Oklahoma, I mean, in the panhandles, they tend to hog it, right? But as we get into Wednesday, I want you to watch how this evolves. So again, you can see this continuation of this trend where the rain, the more widespread rain has been shifting eastward. So, this continues, and Wednesday's rain chances have really dropped even since I put out the forecast this morning. This morning's forecast says 40%. I'm probably going to have to drop that to 30% because it's just not looking impressive at all. It looks like we're just going to get a few scattered showers with the heavier rain east of us. And we've seen that pattern quite a bit. This exact event looked much more impressive 3, 4, 5 days ago. And I tell you that because this winter weather event looks really impressive 5, 6 days out from this weekend, right? So that shows you how these events can evolve over time, even within that 7-day forecast parameter. So I want you to understand that in that context, and understand that this could easily change, really change in this time period. So with that said, we will shift over to, I'm going to shift back over to Pivotal Weather. Let's hope that we can kind of get things running here. So this is the GFS model, and I think the GFS may still be rendering, so I'm not sure how much of this we're going to get. Okay, so here's what the GFS has for us. This is showing Friday 6 a.m. This is a change from what I'm showing you a change from what I've seen already. This shows rain arriving early Friday morning. I wasn't seeing rain until later in the day in the previous runs. So more rain on Friday, and then through the day Friday, you can see where we're starting to get this frozen precipitation here. This is 12 o'clock on Friday. So as it progresses, you can see as we get into the nighttime hours, that cold front continues to move southward, and we're getting more frozen precipitation. Again, this reddish kind of orange is freezing rain. Freezing rain is what brings the most ice, because freezing rain, it's rain that freezes basically on contact. It's still liquid enough to spread out over and cover everything and basically glaze everything. It's like a glazed donut, right? This is the comparison we use. It's like a glazed donut. It glazes everything and then freezes. That's where you get the most of your ice content and your ice accumulations. And then, and again, this is the GFS model. We continue on overnight, and of course, overnight, early mornings when we get our coldest temperatures, this changes over to sleet. And then we continue on. This is 9 a.m. Saturday morning. We change over to snow during the day Saturday as the disturbance continues to move southward, and the dry air pushes that moisture southward as that disturbance comes through. And then this is the most optimistic run for people that really need a functioning Monday, because we may still be below freezing on Sunday, or at least right around freezing, but at least we would be pushing out the moisture. And then this is not showing me, at least not from what I can see, this is not showing me a second push of moisture behind the first one that we were seeing in some other runs. So if anything, this may show the dry air pushing the moisture out before that second run gets here. So that's the GFS model. That's one model. Remember that. Now we have to compare that to the others. So let's see where those are. Now, the GFS model gets to us first. It's one of the earlier ones to render. The Euro model takes a little more time. But we'll show you where that stands. This is the 06 run. This is early this morning. And this one still has a potential line of storms. This is what we were seeing before. That's 6 a.m. Friday. So yeah, still showing some storms. But, this shows possibly a concentration of storms by the time we get to Friday afternoon with the front moving through. And that's where I'm watching to see if we're possibly going to have storms that pick up intensity on the leading edge of this. But the Euro model, still plenty of freezing rain, Saturday morning. A smaller change over to sleet, and then maybe some snow for our area. Let me say too, that I am not going to be prepared to talk about how much snow, how much sleet, how much freezing rain, how much ice accumulations. Those details are hard to figure out hours before an event, much less this far out. So don't get focused on, we're going to have snow changeover by, can't get there yet. At this point, we're really just talking about the location of the cold front, the location of the cold air, and the location of the moisture. Those have to continue this progression in this order for this to happen. Does that stay that way? We'll have to wait and see, because sometimes the smallest variation of those variables makes the biggest difference. So that's the Euro. Let's go to the Canadian model. We're starting to get the Canadian model in. So the Canadian model is rendering about as quickly as the GFS. And this is going to be slow to load. Pivotal's been having issues all morning. But again, and let's track this back. So again, Friday morning rain. So we're starting to see rain arriving earlier on Friday. So Friday looks like a rainy day here. And one of the things I'm interested to see is if we have rain earlier on Friday, does that increase cloud cover Friday night? Of course, we won't warm up much on Friday too. So there's all these little bitty, these little changes. How much cloud cover here and there could change some temperatures. but the Euro model still, so a significant, again, looking at Friday, well, this is Saturday, 12 a.m. So this actually, let me take a look at this again. Let me look at one more, because I've got to compare on a different screen here. So this has a later arrival of the cold air. This has us getting the freezing air not until Saturday morning. So again, like I said, this is a variation. This is a change with the new data. It still shows some significant winter precipitation on Saturday, but this is it arriving pre-dawn Saturday morning as opposed to Friday night, which would significantly change the ice accumulations and things on Saturday morning. So you're just we have to watch these variations. We also have been seeing the variation in the UK model. The UK model's not the latest data is not running there, but we have some early morning data we can show at least here. But again, we're starting to see some of these models start to peel off, right? Euro and GFS are both still committed to rain Friday. Friday night we freeze, and the winter precipitation runs through Saturday, and we start clearing up Sunday. The UK model now, okay, we don't have data going that, so the UK model only runs that far every 12 hours. The in between models are shorter runs, so this is only going to go through Wednesday, but we can at least show that on Wednesday, again, the UK model still showing lighter rain here, heavier east. So we'll have to wait for the UK model data to render to see what that does. But I'll show you the last one. Last night's model data from the UK model was still a deviation because it shows, number one, more significant storms on really late Friday, early Saturday, and then the winter precipitation pretty much misses us. So we were so impressed by how uniform the models looked, but now you see that while the American and European models are still on board, the UK and Canadian models are starting to go, now, whoa, hold on a second. Now we're starting to kind of think a little differently. That Canadian model, and I apologize for how slow this is loading, but we are starting to see changes in the model data that could significantly change how the weekend goes. We still have pretty solid consensus between the American, European, and Canadian models that we're getting winter precipitation and could be a significant amount. The change, especially with the Canadian model, is that we don't get. Okay, I'm just making sure everything's loading because Pivotal's been having these issues. Now it's still not pulling up what we need. We need 12Z. We need this morning's model data. This shows the previous run. Okay, here's the latest. No, this is still poor Pivotal, man. They're really having a hard time. But this shows a 12 a.m. change over to frozen precipitation, whereas the latest model run, if we can get that queued up here, and we'll give it a second to load that. But the latest model showed a later transition over. So, that's what I'm talking about, guys, is we're starting to see changes in the models. It doesn't mean that we're going to continue to see changes, but this is how these things work. This is how this stuff goes sometimes. We get into this, day to day. We live and die sometimes, especially these guys that are posting every model update, and every model update is the gospel. This is why I'm not so concrete and certain with my wording, because we see these deviations and these changes in between now and then. And if every change is the new gospel, well, then you've been wrong 12 times by the time we get there. This is why we provide context. This is why we say this is what we're looking at. This is also why your weather models change hourly. And I mean hourly. So that's what we're looking at in terms of our, what we're watching at least. So I want you to understand that the models are showing some deviations here. We've still got data coming in. We're going to have so many runs and so many changes and so many updates in between now and then. What I'm going to present to you is here's what we're seeing. Here's what I digest out of that, right? We all need to be ready for a winter storm this weekend. Period, bar none. There's no way to get around that. The details, when we're going to change over to freezing precipitation, how that's going to affect things overall, how much we're going to get of ice or snow or whatever, all of those details, those minute details are going to change. Again, accumulation amounts change up to like hours before. I mean, we've had events where we got more than I expected a few minutes, I maybe a couple of hours before I'm saying, we, may get this much, and we get more than we expected. Winter weather is so fickle in Texas. It's just so hard to do. What we're trying to figure out right now is when do we freeze and how much moisture do we have here when that happens? Those are the two really big pieces that we have to figure out and are already starting to change in the models. Those are the two big strokes. Everything more minute than that, more, micro scale than that, going to take a while to really have, to have the more detailed strokes. So one question I'm getting, how can you prepare for an ice storm? Where are the impacts? What are the impacts? Not saying it will happen, just want to know. Yeah. So, I mean, one way to prepare is, go to the grocery store now. Because as we get closer, people are going to go, I need to pick up XYZ, and they will start doing that. And the grocery stores will get steadily busier as we get close, and they will be extremely busy the day before. So don't wait. If you have a generator, check those things. If you've been considering getting a generator, now's a good time. Battery backups or whatever the case is, get you some bottled water. And I'm not saying hoard it, don't get a whole bunch, because the thing is that these crisis hoarding situations, we create those ourselves, right? That's kind of how that goes. Whether they're necessary or not, we talk about others doing it, and then we do it to prevent them, to protect ourselves from doing it, and we end up creating the crisis, if that makes sense. So, just get you a one case of water. This is the other thing too. I've already had a couple of people ask me, is this going to be February 2021? No, and I'll show you why. We are not looking at this being a long, drawn-out thing where we have like several days below freezing. This will not be that. This is in and out in a weekend. And again, depending on, we don't know yet how quickly it's going to be start and end. That's one of the details we're going to have to wait and watch and see as these models come through. But it is one of those things that we will talk about as we get closer. But, just check your antifreeze in your cars, cover any outdoor spigots, take care of the plants and the pets, just make a plan for all those things as we get closer. Because regardless of how much precipitation we get out of it, it's going to get cold. It's going to get very cold. And we will talk about, let's see here. Let's just show the forecast here of what we're thinking. So, today we'll get up to about the low 50s. Overnight tonight we freeze, but it's not as hard a freeze as we had the other night. We're not as many of us will be in the 20s. And then we warm up from there. A few showers possible Wednesday. That 40% will probably drop to 30% before we get there. We're looking at 50s, even upper 50s. Some of us may be in the 60s on Wednesday. Thursday, a little bit cooler as we start getting more clouds in here. Friday's the big changeover. Friday we get the front. The timing of the front is in flux, very much in flux here. We continue to see changes there. So Uh, the latest data that we had, and the latest that we were looking at this morning, the front arrives during the day Friday, maybe around early, late morning, midday, and then temperatures are dropping through the day. That's why you see that 55 italicized. So we drop through the day. We're in the low 20s overnight. Saturday we stay below freezing for mixed precipitation through the day. Again, we can't talk yet about how much snow, how much freezing rain, whatever. So Saturday we stay below freezing. Saturday night we're below freezing again, well below freezing. We're in the 20s. There could be some teens Saturday night into Sunday morning. In fact, I can almost guarantee at this point that there probably will be. Sunday, we'll have to see if any of this is left. I put some early, pre-dawn Sunday, maybe some moisture hanging out. That's another piece of this that's still in flux, is how long is the moisture hanging around? We saw the GFS model where it's starting to get the moisture out of here fairly quickly. And then, by Sunday morning, we're done. But other models have it hanging around a little later. That's just one of those pieces that we're waiting to see. But Sunday, it does look like we get above freezing. Maybe briefly, but we get above freezing at that point. And then beyond 7 days, how much do we warm up? How quickly? We'll have to see. The 2021 winter weather event, that was a La Nina year. That's what we're in right now. And the La Nina years, while they generally mean more mild, more dry weather like we've had, it's been on track so far, it can sometimes allow these for more of these distortions in the polar vortex, which, remember, the polar vortex stays up at the Arctic Circle. It's not something that moves around. It stays there. But you can have those deviations that allow that colder air to move south, and that's probably part of what's contributing to this. But it's not going to hang around as long as that 2021 event did. And yes, that 2021 event, we were in the 70s on either side of it. So we were quite warm. This is a little bit different. We're right around normal, if not just above normal most of these days. But, we could very easily be back to the 60s and 70s, by middle of next week. So we'll have to watch and see what happens here. But it does look like this will be a shorter event than where we have been otherwise. Now, I want to talk a little bit about one of the things that was mentioned was being prepared. And one of the things that we learned recently is that Weather Call Next Gen is not just for severe weather. It covers winter weather as well. It covers winter weather advisories, ice storm warnings, wind chill warnings, blizzard warnings. It also includes lake effect, which is not something we normally see. We have to get perfect conditions to get some lake effect snow all the way from up in the Metroplex, Lake Ray Hubbard, Lake Louisville, etc. But a very rare event here, so I didn't include it here, but it's 24/7 alerts. You're going to get a text message for these. Of course, Weather Call, you get the phone call for severe thunderstorm warnings, tornado warnings, flash flood emergencies, that kind of thing. This is just a text message, but it does tell you when your location is going to be under a winter weather advisory. If things stay the same as what we're seeing right now, and we do expect all of this frozen precipitation, I think a winter weather advisory is likely for our area. You'll get a text message as soon as that is issued, straight to you, and we'll let you know when that is going into effect and that kind of thing. Winter weather advisory, sometimes there's some of those, they'll issue it before it goes into effect. So this is going to put all of that information directly in your phone, directly to you. You don't have to go find it. You don't have to go read some long paragraph somewhere to figure out when these go into effect. And ultimately, it tells you, hey, check South Metro Weather because we got the details for you. And it's the same as the $15 a year that you see with the severe weather events and those kind of things. And then you start in the winter with the winter weather events, and then you get into the spring. You are protected. You're already set, ready to go for severe weather season, which is just around the corner. It's the 19th of January. We go through February. Remember last year, we had severe weather the first 10 days, 2 severe weather events within the first 10 days of the first 8 days of March last year. And so it's definitely very beneficial to be signed up before then. But hey, we've got reason to now because we've got this winter weather event headed our way. So that's where we stand on things. And if you're just tuning in, this will be posted where you can watch it later. I know that this is a long video, but there's a lot of context to talk about. As we get closer, it will condense and we'll have less to talk about because there's less variation possible. But hey, this is kind of where things stand. And the two pieces we are watching, again, what time do the freezing temperatures arrive? What time does the disturbance bring the moisture? We got to watch and see how those things land. We're starting to see some changes in the models. I'll be interested throughout the day to see if we continue to see some deviations, and does that change the forecast ultimately? It very well could. So thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned to South Metro Weather. We're going to keep you updated as we start to see these changes on what we can expect as a winter storm arrives in north central Texas this weekend.
I don't know what it means, but there's a smile upon your face, and I see something shimmering in your eyes. And they say if you want to glimpse the future, you need space. And you said you'll put down your morning guns. Would you follow me to wonders? Take my hand and walk beside me in a world of thunder. Fear is an imposter. When you look at me this way, I find it hard to not give in. So the days became weeks, it felt just like the night before. You were slowly fading in my mind. When you left, I was so confused.